Hi, I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates, and today we're going to take a look at a creative way to do a dozen roses in more of a fan shape. So it's a way to use the power of the stems and to kind of create a conversation piece out of your dozen rose instead of the basic dozen. So the first thing I'm going to do is start off with some curly willow, and I'm going to put this in and have some tension to it. So I want to do a nice cut so that when I put it in, that it doesn't turn. And so I'm going to go a little bit more straight up. And this is going to add that dynamic line into this. We're going to be using kind of the power of the stem of the rose to be able to have that static line, and so we want contrasting lines that'll come together. And we're just going to make this into an armature. So next I'm going to use some bind wire, and this bind wire comes in a variety of colors. Just using the brown today, and I'm going to come in and attach a couple areas of the curly willow. This color matches the stems of the curly willow there, so I'm able to just leave that kind of exposed and just make it look like it's part of the stems from the curly willow. So this is really our armature frame that's going to be the base for this arrangement. And the next thing we're going to do is add a quick basing technique on here. And I've got some Fatsia leaves that I'm just going to come in and cover my base with. And I'm putting them in now already so that I can poke my next stems through it. I've got my foam that's even with the container so that I don't have extra mechanics to hide. So there you can see kind of a solid base that we're starting with, and then we'll come in and start with the roses. See that? So today we're going to be using the Explorer rose. It's one of the newer rose varieties, and so I am going to, we want the contrast of those dynamic lines that are coming from that curly willow and the straight lines coming from the stem of the rose. So we're going to use this power of stems and to add extra value into this design, and just come in and then start placing those roses. It's going to come through. So if I pull my container to the edge, I can use that edge to be able to come in and see the height that I need to cut that rose to make sure that I have a great stem insertion that's going to go all the way to the bottom of that foam. I've cleaned up some of these roses in advance, but you can see you want to have your roses cleaned and ready to go. And we're just continuing to make that flare pattern. So I'm coming in and I'm going kind of back and forth on the armature. So there you can kind of see our base structure and how it comes across. And then now, so that's the first 5, and then we're just gonna add in the rest of the roses. So here's our 12 roses, and you can see that we have the placement done, and it has a little bit more width, so it isn't just that single line that's coming through. And you can see the contrast between the dynamic lines of the curly willow and the straight lines that come in from the rose stems. We do want to add a little bit of other visual interest, and so this is another textural element, and I've got some burgundy Hypericum here, and this is just going to make it feel a little bit more of an upgrade. It adds that contrasting texture and really adds interest, visual interest into the arrangement. You can see I'm continuing to turn it around to be able to just visually see how that depth is going and the visual path that I'm creating with the roses and then also the Hypericum. So you can see it's kind of top heavy right now, and what we're going to do is add some Coonte Palm into the base to just increase that value perception and the size of the base to make that it feel more connected one to the other so that they're complementary shapes. And then just to add a little bit more visual weight to the base and kind of give it a place to land to bring the green down, add that textural influence coming in from a couple of the green trick Dianthus. And I'm going to put these in a zigzag pattern through here too, so they are their own visual pathway through this design as well. So here's our dozen roses that's done in a flared fan style, using that contrasting of textures and really creating that visual interest and impact. Imagine this going to the office of a loved one. It's definitely going to be a conversation piece, and that's the best advertising you can buy. Have them talk about where that rose arrangement came from and really set yourself above your competition. I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates, and I hope I've inspired you to make some fabulous florals.